Hello, everyone. Nomen of Consequence here with a new episode of my Give the People What They Want series. So, the Basic Expert currently has a Kickstarter going on for this project called The White Box. Now, let me just start by saying that I personally have nothing against the Basic Expert or his Kickstarter, but I have to mention it first in order to set the table here. If you're interested in his Kickstarter, then he has a YouTube video on his channel explaining all about it. Now, his name, The White Box, is a play on the original TSR product, which is informally called The White Box due to its color. I did a whole video featuring my personal copy of this product because it is now relatively rare. But again, that's not what I want to talk about. When the Kickstarter first launched, the account Kelsey tweeted this: "Just backed. This is the definitive OD&D rules clarification that makes the game actually playable." And John is really a good guy. He's been very kind to me in the Shadow Dark community. Now, this isn't just some rando on the internet. This is coming from Kelsey Dion, the creator of the Shadow Dark game. So, in other words, someone whose opinion carries some weight. However, Rob Kuntz, whom I frequently mention in my videos, took umbrage with Kelsey's choice of words. Makes the game playable. Imagine that thousands of DMs, the designers included, put out an unplayable game in 1974 that in 3 years grossed nearly $1 million in sales and shook the very foundation of gaming upside down. I never would have known. What followed were a few rebuttals to Rob Kuntz's rebuttal, the gist of which was that the original version of D&D game was poorly written. You can pause the video if you like and read through these tweets. So the original version of the D&D game was poorly written and edited, but that's different from saying that the game was outright unplayable. Even Gygax himself admitted way back in 1977 that the original version of the game was a hot mess. Here he writes that they realized this almost as soon as the game was first released. He wrote the phrase 2 years ago in 1977, meaning, of course, 1975. So, in other words, the year after the game was first released. He said, 2 years ago, we determined to revise the whole of D&D in order to clean up the errors and fill in the holes. And in 1980, Gygax wrote this: "All of you also know why something had to be done. The original work had been aimed at a small audience, one wrongly assumed to be highly conversant with military miniatures and basically non-critical. The booklets were hastily put together in late night and spare time hours, by and large, with little or no editing. Each supplement furthermore reflected development and evolution of the game, so there was contradiction, duplication, and vast areas of ambiguity and non-direction." So even Gygax owned up to legitimate complaints about the original version of the D&D game. And all this is, of course, what led to the Holmes Basics set being released in July 1977. So while the original game was poorly written and edited, to call it outright unplayable isn't really fair. If the game were truly unplayable, it would not have taken off like it did, and we wouldn't be tweeting and making videos about it today. Now, I don't think Kelsey actually meant any harm by what she wrote. I believe it was just a poor choice of words. Honestly, I think it's just another example of the same perception which appears in this video. I did my own analysis of that D&D Shorts video in a video I released this past Labor Day. I think it's just a matter of younger people not stopping to realize that there are still people around who were alive and playing the D&D game back then. And so they say things about those times without really thinking about it first. I believe it was Rush Limbaugh who said something along the lines of, young people tend to think that modern times only began when they were born, and anything which happened before they were born is ancient history. So I can understand Rob Kuntz's frustration when he reads things like that tweet. I am not as old as he is, but still, I am getting along in years. For example, I have D&D dice that are older than those people I just talked about. Seriously, this is a pic of some of the dice, which came with my own copy of the Holmes Basic set, which I purchased over the Christmas break in 1979. Moving on, this is an article which recently appeared in the games industry website. The Wizards of the Coast president would love a new Dungeons & Dragons MMORPG. Now, the article is a lot longer than what I've copied here, but these were the only parts that I was interested in. It sheds a little more light on the concept of bringing the D&D franchise all under one roof. For example, it says, Height notes that by aligning everything Magic-related under one division and everything D&D-related under another, it should allow for better coordination between different aspects of the same franchise, such as making sure TV or film adaptations align with game releases. The article goes on to say, he cites the Stranger Things as another example. The show led to fantastic interest in D&D, he says, but it'd be nice to have that all lined up so when this thing rolls out, we've got a campaign for you to enjoy that's something you saw on the show or the characters in the show. I was right about that, at least. Stranger Things Season 4 came out over the summer of 2022, but WotC is only just now releasing a tie-in product. And finally, the article concluded with, he thinks that there could be room for a new D&D MMORPG. I'd love to have that, he says. I think we'll want to rethink what an MMO is in this day and age. I think the traditional model that Blizzard, well, even before that, Ultima Online, EverQuest pursued, that could use updating. So I'm not sure what he's thinking in those terms, along those lines, but I guess we'll find out. Moving on. This is Justin Alexander, a long-time and arguably well-known figure within the D&D influencer community. His blog site, The Alexandrian, has been around for many years, and he has a well-regarded YouTube channel. He also has an X account, which he used yesterday to post this. He was a piece of who made it his goal in life to hurt other people. Dying doesn't change that. Now, the ending of Charlie Kirk is absolutely dominating the news cycle, social media, everything this week. So, in my opinion, it is no great leap to infer what Mr. Alexander was referring to here. He's clever enough not to come right out and name names, plausible deniability and all that, but let's be honest. I believe that anyone who doesn't live in a Siberian ice cave north of the Arctic Circle would understand who and what he is talking about here. And within half an hour, Diversity and Dragons called him out on it. The guy who runs the Alexandrian is a disgusting piece of human garbage. The heat intensified, and Mr. Alexander soon began engaging in damage control. But again, Diversity and Dragons called him out on it. Nice try, you effing bundle of sticks. You just stepped into consequence culture. Tell me, how do you like the monsters you created? Mr. Alexander edited his original tweet to claim that he was actually talking about the guy with the funny mustache from WW2. He also posted this. I made a post about the mustache guy being a bad person earlier today. I have now deleted the thread because of the truly insane number of people rushing to the mustache guy's defense. Not worth the hassle, although always good to expand the block list. Furthermore, he went on to say that if you criticize his tweets, then that means you actually support the mustache guy. Okay, so let me get this straight. On the same day that the entire rest of the internet is talking about Charlie Kirk, Mr. Alexander, just out of the blue, makes a vague, random remark about the WW2 mustache man who self-deleted 80 years ago. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. And it seems that other people are not buying it either. For example, this person said he's not only evil, but a coward. He's playing dumb, saying he was talking about the mustache man. This person wrote, the tee-hee, I'm so clever, I was talking about the Fuhrers, see, haha, you're defending Adolf, no fascists on my page, lol. Pose. It's so precious and obnoxious. I can't believe I used to enjoy this guy's reviews. And the RPG pundit, whom I sometimes cite on here, said the Alexandrian spent years being one of the principal architects of attempted cancellations against me. He's absolute and utter human filth and deserves whatever happens to him. But this isn't the first time that controversy has surrounded Mr. Alexander. Do you remember the last time?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Well, I remember too. When Justin Alexander published this book in 2023, it came with some controversy of its own. But first, we need some background information for context. Original term, jacaying or jaquazing. Justin Alexander, via his blog, The Alexandrian, wrote about nonlinear dungeon design, referencing Chanel Jacquet's work, Caverns of Thracia and Dark Tower. He originally coined the term jacqueing the dungeon, later jacquazing, to capture that style, honoring her inspiration. Now, this is just a ChatGPT summary of the details. I'm sorry, but I had neither the time nor the desire to dig up a bunch of original references. However, if you're really interested, then you can research it all for yourself, and you will find that this information is accurate. Now, who is Chanel Jacquet? Well, here is a brief biography from Wikipedia. Again, you can research all the details for yourself if you really want to. This is just a summary, but as you can see, Chanel Jacquet was a true pioneer in the nascent role-playing game industry back in the late 1970s. These are just two of the most famous Judges Guild titles by Chanel Jacquet. Even today, both of these adventure modules consistently rank very high on any best of list. And here are just a couple of actual TSR D&D titles by her. These titles are just a tiny sample of the full body of her work within the fantasy role-playing hobby. So again, what does jacquazing the dungeon mean? Well, core principles of jacquazing a dungeon. When you jacquaze a dungeon, you're ensuring that the players are never just moving from room A to room B to room C. Instead, you build complexity and freedom into the map and encounters. So this is where the controversy comes in. Move to Xandering. In 2023, during preparations for his book, So You Want to Be a Game Master, Justin Alexander changed the term from jacquazing to Xandering the dungeon. The reasons he gave were legal concerns using someone else's name, publisher editorial concerns, desire for consistency, etc. Alexander claims he spoke with Janelle about the use of the name, told her he'd correct the term, and she, quote, thanked him for the update. But from what's publicly known, Janelle had requested the correction of the spelling, including the final S, not explicitly the replacement of her name with Xandering. And here's just a couple of examples from the book itself. Sorry for the crappy out-of-focus pics. I hurriedly took them with my cell phone camera from my own copy of the book. And just as a side, I did not buy this book. It was gifted to me. But you can see here a couple of examples where he used the term Xandered, Xandering the dungeon. Obviously a play on his own name. So community reaction. Many people in the D&D OSR role-playing game communities objected, saying that the change feels like appropriation or erasure, because the term was originally clearly linked to Janelle Jaquay's name and legacy. So by changing the term to Xandering, someone who doesn't know D&D history could easily conclude that it was Justin Alexander who came up with the idea of taking a nonlinear approach to dungeon development and not Janelle Jaquay's. Now, Alexander published posts to clarify on his blog site, explaining about that. But as it says at the bottom, some blog writers are restoring or advocating the use of Jaquazing. Some, including Janelle's wife, affirm that it will be forever known as Jaquazing a dungeon. Now, again, this is just an AI summary. You can go to the Alexandrian blog and read all the details about how he justifies changing it from Jaquazing to Xandering. He goes through some truly remarkable logic and semantic gymnastics to get there. All right, well, enough of all the controversy. Now I want to end on a lighter note. Here's another bit of officially licensed D&D merchandising I recently became aware of. The D&D 2025 Advent Calendar. So, if you are interested in a set of chibi-style Dungeons & Dragons themed Christmas ornaments, you're in luck. I've even included the website information to make it easy for you to find. All right, well, that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you can, please leave a comment and let me know what you think. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you know of a good place, please share the video. And anything you can do to help support the channel, I appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye for now.